They're convicted killers who found the best job in prison. Tonight, PIX Investigates looks at some infamous inmates who found that religion really pays. Mary Murphy is here to explain. Mary.
All right, Heidi, in recent weeks we've been talking about some of the prison chaplains and looking at the way they got hired. Well, tonight we're going to talk about their Muslim inmate assistants, their clerks, all of them working close to the telephone.
November 1990, Egyptian-born El Sayed Nosair shot during his attempted escape from an East Side hotel after the assassination of Rabbi Meir Kahane. A New York jury acquitted Nosair of the murder in a verdict the judge called devoid of common sense, but he went to Attica State Prison on other charges. That's where, the FBI said, Nosair helped plot the first World Trade Center explosion, posing for this photo with the future truck bombers. It's also where he received a plum assignment with the chaplain for Muslim inmates.
The highest paying inmate job in the prison walls in the state is chaplain's clerk.
Certainly good for commissary money, but Murphy said there was another benefit.
Imam's phone was not recorded and it had the capacity to call anywhere.
Excuse me, officer.
March 1994, Lebanese-born cab driver Rashid Baz is arrested for shooting up a van full of Orthodox Jewish students on the Brooklyn Bridge, killing 16-year-old Ari Halberstam.
When the Uzi jammed, that's when he pulled out the Glock.
Baz got 144 years in state prison and the clerk's job with the Muslim chaplain at the Auburn Correctional Center. Fast forward to May 2009. 4 ex-cons are accused of plotting to blow up Bronx synagogues, and scrutiny falls on the Muslim chaplain at the Fishkill Correctional Facility.
Imam Salahuddin Muhammad had 2 Middle Eastern clerks over his years. One was an Abdel Zabin, who was a known member of Hamas, and another was an individual by the name of Abdullah Nagy, who was connected to the Lackawanna Six. He had made several thousands of phone calls around the United States and overseas through his office.
During an interview with the New York Times last year, Imam Muhammad rejected the notion that he or other Muslim chaplains were involved in the radicalization of state inmates. Quote, "I don't hear any of that wild stuff, and if I did hear it, I would stomp it out. It is totally un-Islamic." 5 years ago, Muhammad's former boss in the state system, Warith Din Umar, was recorded making a fiery sermon in a Brooklyn mosque.
I said, well, you know, they banned me from teaching in the prison. I said, the next step is jihad. There's no lightweight jihad, halfway jihad. That's why these people fear us.
Many Muslim prison chaplains bristle at the suggestion their role is anything more than spiritual.
This prison radicalization is a myth, and it's all part of the post-9/11 hype.
Tonight, the director of public information for state corrections said this about the phone issue. If it's discovered or learned that an improper call was made, the chaplain is subject to discipline. When we asked about Dunleavy's statements that thousands of calls were made from the chaplain's office in Fishkill, Eric Chris told us, "I can't comment on the specifics of that case," which he pointed out date back a number of years. He did confirm Imam Muhammad had served in Fishkill for more than 24 years, now earning a state salary of more than $74,000. Jim Murphy, who worked for Operation Hades, a joint effort between the NYPD and state corrections investigators, said there's another group with inmate access not being looked at closely enough.
Now, the state prison system and the city prison system have a whole network of volunteers who come in for every reason under the world. Literacy, English as a second language, whatever, GED programs, whatever it may be. And those volunteers are not subject to background scrutiny.
Certainly another area to look into. On the issue of the inmate clerks working for the chaplains, the state told me tonight there's now a committee in each prison that monitors high-profile inmates working in those positions. The first inmate we told you about, El Sayed Nosair, is now in a federal super maximum lockup in Colorado and very likely doesn't get his old privileges.
You know, they said maybe they would look into the phone call situation, but do you sense that there's any overall larger study of the chaplain situation for possible changes in the future? Or is it locked in the way it is?
Well, I'm sure there's always studying being done. There was that Senate Foreign Relations Committee report that came out a couple of weeks ago, and there was concern that the inmates were being radicalized in the prison and that some of them were actually being sent overseas after they got out to train in Al-Qaeda camps. So I'm sure there's always some kind of monitoring going on.
Another fascinating report. Thank you, Mary.